Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is your Wednesday edition. Again, this will be the final show for the week. I am going to be in Florida, teaching class down in Florida. I got a bunch of other classes coming up here and travel. So, yeah, a lot going on in my world. My voice is already going out, so we'll see how this show goes today. We did a show 2 days ago on Monday talking about the prospects for government shutdown, and my attitude towards it is, who cares, right? It's this same kick the can down the road type of mentality that I feel like I've experienced my entire life. I think it's political grandstanding. I think one party is certainly using it as a tool to get things that they want, and has it ever been any different, right? It doesn't matter which party is in power. There's always this bickering between the two, which has fueled my disgust for politicians on both sides of the aisle. I think we need like an 8-party system versus a 2-party system here in the United States. So I figured I would do something about the shutdown today because I did receive a couple questions, even though we did a show on this. You know, what are my thoughts are, how are we going to react? You're not going to react. And I think what's more important here is to look at historical precedent, right? What has happened in the past that has caused, what has happened that after a government shutdown, what is the market reaction typically? And I think the knee-jerk reaction is, it is bad for the economy, right? It's bad for the markets. Well, not really. It's basically a paid vacation for everybody. It's a government employee. They're going to get furloughed and they will get back pay as soon as it starts up. So basically, it's like they're getting a paid vacation. So if you're a government employee right now, it's like, right on. Now, there is some talk that some government employees may be permanently let go after this, but that's a different story. So I wanted to do this little segment here called Learning from the Past. And I agree with Lori 1,000% here. She says politicians should not be paid until they get their job done. Yeah, isn't it funny how our elected officials get paid no matter what? And they can just go into a shutdown and screw the American people with all this. And there's a lot of people that will be out of work for a while and questioning their ability to make their payments. But politicians, nope, they don't get impacted by it. Love it. Wonderful. So I went and did some statistics on this one. And historically, there have been 20 government shutdowns since 1976, and the S&P has averaged a 0% change during the events themselves, with positive returns in about half the cases and gains in most cases 3 to 6 months later. Of course, that's ChatGPT or Grok or one of those. So I wanted to show you the last one. This is the longest one we've had, which is essentially 1 month. And going into it, the markets were not looking very good. This is back in 2018. So those of you looking at the chart right now, you're seeing the price charts really going from 2017 all the way through 2019. Well, markets started to fall aggressively in October of 2018. And you can see really as we got into December, things really started to fall apart. And I believe that this was expectations that there's just something wonky and screwy going on at the government and we weren't going to get things done. Notice it did fall the next day. So we shut down, the government shut down on Friday, December 21st. And by the time it opened back up the next morning on Monday, we were down 2.64%. So the knee-jerk reaction by the markets was bad, right? Let's see it sell off. But notice what happened from those lows. After that one-day drop, the market rallied until we went out of the shutdown and everything got back to normal. Markets rallied 13% in a month. 13%? I mean, that's a phenomenal rate of return for a 1 month window of time from December 24th. I think it's actually 21st. Well, I got December 24th through January 25th as the goalpost there for that one. So part of me, when the news came through last night, it was no surprise. We talked about this on Monday. I think everyone kind of felt it was going to happen. The question is really, how long will this last, right? How long does this tool going to be used to get one side of the aisle or the other to come to some concession about specific things that either one of those parties wants as far as deficit, spending, etc. For me, when I look at something like this, and I look back historically and see that really most of the time it tends to not do very poorly, actually tends to do okay, well, that leads me to look forward to today's markets. Here's the S&P for today. Oops, I'm actually way back there too. Here's the S&P. You got on a daily time frame. We're at all-time highs. Big volatility today, right? Nice wide range, but markets shrugged it off. Going back to all-time highs. And as Rob just typed in, welcome back, all good till the bend. I agree. And this goes back to, I don't remember when I had my moment where I was just kind of popping off. I think it was Monday as I came back from Wasteland weekend when Michael asked those questions about upgrades and downgrades. The news in trading and investing tends to steer our decisions, tends to sway what we see and how we react to specific data. right now the news is government shutdown, and it sounds so ominous. It sounds so bad that I think the retail investor will be the one who panics. The trend, though, says stay long, right? Stay long, keep holding those markets, and ultimately, this trend will end at some point, as Rob points out, and I agree. This trend will end at some point, but right now it's not. So I'm just going to keep staying long. Again, I've got United Health. I'm long the S&P and a bunch of others in different accounts, but in the account that I share with you guys, I have, of course, MicroStrategy, pretty decent sized position there, which is great today, and I have United Health as well. Some of the other positions were taken away, but overall, even though Oliver is not here today, he would call me the doom and gloom guy. I'm not. I'm bullish. This year has been a phenomenal year. Well, I wouldn't say phenomenal. It's been a great year for me, rate of return wise, and we'll look at those numbers at the end of the year. Knock on wood. It's been going very good so far. And why? Because I've held a bullish bias in one of the bullish periods we've seen in a long time. Even though my brain tells me this is unjustified, this market's not right in the head, it's going to crash at some point, I still have to go with that trend. And I don't care if there's a government shutdown or whatever else comes the way, this market clearly is exhibiting bullish tendencies, higher highs, higher lows. So again, don't get swayed by the news that's pushed out there from the institutions and the media. I think it's all designed to elicit a response, and sometimes those may not be the right responses. Now, let me share something with you. Let me bring it up here real quick. I don't know if you guys have seen the new newsletter. I wrote a couple articles which I thought maybe you might like that one. And let me see if I can bring up the current one. I really like this one. I wrote this article, and let's see what you guys think of it. But you don't have to read it right now, obviously. But this is part of the Trading Academy newsletter, and it really is. It's titled "What It Really Takes to Become a Trader Who Lasts." And I know I'm going to get grief. I didn't get this approved by the powers that be. I'm going to get grief because if you read the first part of this, I start off with, the truth is becoming a successful trader is hard. And I think everybody watching this right now, and certainly my regular audience, I think you'd all agree with that this is not something that's just super simple to do, because we're bombarded every single day with good news, bad news, news that you don't even know if you can trust. And that makes it very challenging. And as we progress and go through more and more experiences in these markets, you become calloused or jaded to, I guess, the news. My attitude on Monday was very cavalier and nonchalant about the government shutdown. Who cares? I don't care. I'm just going to do whatever that market gives me, and my emotions have to step out of it. So that's what this article is about. Some of you might find it enjoyable. If you do, great. If not, let me know what you want me to write articles about. I'm going to try to write more for the newsletters. I typically do once a month, one article. I actually did two. So there's this article, and I also did one which you might find interesting, which is, it says, AI stocks are ripping, but do you have a plan? And it really focuses on discussions we've had here on this program, which deal a lot with AI leading the charge and this huge euphoria around AI, which I do share that euphoria. The only cautionary note, which I've been mentioning, is NVIDIA itself. Right? NVIDIA is fueling this rally by buying companies that are in the AI space and pushing their valuations higher. So it's almost like they're inflating this bubble themselves. Even though I love NVIDIA, it makes me a little bit nervous. So anyway, those are the two articles there from the current Trading Academy newsletter. And of course, you guys can check that one out through the site or the link I just sent you there. All right, so today's visual was obviously learning from the past. Statistically, if we can look back and know that more often than not, when we have a government shutdown, the markets actually tend to rally, then what are we worried about? You may worry personally if you're saying, hey, I'm about to take the family on vacation to Yellowstone or Yosemite or some national park out there. Well, national parks are going to be shut down, right? There's certain areas that are going to be hit, but from a financial perspective, like how do we capitalize on this? I think that everyone here should just stay the course. Jensen Huang said NVIDIA will be 10 trillion by 2030. I think it's going to be a race to the 10 trillion mark. I think it's going to be between NVIDIA and Tesla. I think it's going to be a very interesting race. I think actually I would put my money on Tesla. Nice, Les. Hope it wasn't too bad. I would put my money on Tesla because of the diversification of products. I think that the competition is going to rise significantly for NVIDIA with regards to their chips, and I don't know. I think the $10 trillion market cap comes from by 2030. I would say if I had to put my money on it, I would actually. I'm going to do mine. Let me see what you guys think. Let me do a poll here. Would we will say, who will hit 10 trillion market cap first? We're going to go NVIDIA. We're going to go Microsoft. Let's add another one. Let's go Tesla. And I'm going to add another one on here, other. And you guys can let me know what you think there. So there's 4 options for you. Which company do you think will hit $10 trillion market cap first? 10 trillion. I mean, remember, that's a monstrous number. We were celebrating a couple years back when Apple crossed the $1 trillion market cap space. And it was just like, wow. You know, we were just blown away that Apple had 1 trillion. I made a bet with John O'Donnell on Power Trading Radio that Bitcoin would reach $1 trillion market cap before Apple. And John won that bet. Unfortunately, John won that bet. There's going to come a time where Bitcoin leapfrogs Apple in market cap valuation. And we can go here to Coin Market Cap. I can show you the different valuations as we speak. Right now, it's not that close. If you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has a market cap of 2.3 billion. 2.3 trillion, excuse me. 2.3 trillion, which is just unbelievable. And people are like, oh, it does not back by anything. It is. It's backed by the idea of freedom, control, independence, security, safety, all those variables that I think we all appreciate. So 2.3 trillion. And then if I go to market cap of something like, let's go to FinViz, go to something like Apple. Apple obviously much more than 2.3 trillion, but I think you may see Bitcoin surprise you here. So right now, Apple's sitting at 3.79 trillion. Microsoft's at 3.86 trillion, and Nvidia's at 4.5 trillion. So, according to Jensen Huang, doubling their market cap, slightly more than doubling their market cap in the next 5 years, that would be a pretty lofty goal. Now, Tesla is only at 1.5 trillion. So that's a much loftier target for them to hit, would be hitting 10 trillion. But I'm never going to be the person who ever bets against Elon Musk. I just can't do it. Too much. Not a MicroStrategy fan, but NVIDIA's ahead. Yeah, NVIDIA's way ahead. NVIDIA's way ahead. All right. Oracle. Andres, you think Oracle would be the one? Interesting. Oracle, I don't know. It's funny because I've never really been a huge fan of Oracle, but you look at their database services and what they're doing, and now they're venturing into AI. They're getting TikTok. Oh, well, they already have TikTok on their servers. Certainly, I think Oracle could do well, but are they going to get to 10 trillion, Andres? No, I don't think so. I mean, Oracle right now is sitting at 821 billion. That means you'd have to about 12x to get Oracle up to a $10 trillion market cap, whereas NVIDIA, you're talking about like a 2.2x. Way easier, right? Tesla, you got about a 8x from current levels. So definitely doable. And we will see. Hopefully, we'll be holding some of those in our. I know, only $820 billion market cap. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. These valuations are just absolutely incredible. Oh, Juan, don't make me block you, Juan. Throwing Shiba Inu out there. You're just trying to just jabbing me. You know I hate Shiba Inu. Steven said, could MicroStrategy? That's a very interesting question. No. It's one that is kind of disturbing, right? Because when we look at names I just mentioned, Oracle, massive facility provider. They've got tons of data centers all over the world. They've got massive cloud and AI compute. You look at NVIDIA. They're supplying all of the picks and shovels for the AI revolution. And not only that, but as you read in my article, they're actually buying the mines as well. They're totally diversifying their holdings into buying AI leaders, which should drive their valuation even higher. You look at Microsoft. Of course, we all know Microsoft's products and services. You look at Apple, phones and watches and computers all around the world. And then you got MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy, like, well, what are you doing? You hold Bitcoin. And in principle, Stephen, I would say, no, not MicroStrategy. However, if Michael Saylor continues to buy Bitcoin, and we see Bitcoin adoption happen at a much larger level, right? Not where it's at today, but at a much larger level, could MicroStrategy get to 10 trillion? I don't think so, and here's why. Notice right now that Bitcoin's only at 2.3 trillion. So Bitcoin would have to 5x from current levels. And that would mean that he owned all of the Bitcoin. This is the value of all right now 19, I call it 20 million Bitcoin that are in circulation. There's still a million to be created. He doesn't have that much. He's got 600,000 Bitcoin. So I just don't see Saylor getting $10 trillion market cap. I like the idea, thinking outside the box, right? Something a little bit different with MicroStrategy, but I just don't see it happen. All right, let me see what you guys thought here. End poll. So the people who put other, hopefully you put that into chat. I think that's probably the MicroStrategy and Shiba Inu one. The poll was, who will hit $10 trillion market cap first? 51% of you said Tesla, 33% said Nvidia, 8% said Microsoft, and 8% said other. Surprisingly, a very few amount of voters today. Where are you guys? Come on. Still not a fan, but they are depending on Bitcoin. Yeah, and if Bitcoin succeeds massively, Steven, then yeah, there is that potential. I think it's a long shot. I think it's definitely a long shot. I guess if Bitcoin went to 1 million, then they would be 6 trillion, right? But Bitcoin going to 1 million, I mean, you're talking Bitcoin have to 9x from current levels. 9x. Hey, if they 9x from current levels, trust me, I'm a very, very, very happy man. Because remember, I have Bitcoin, but that's not all I hold. I hold Ethereum, and I'm a believer that within the next 3 to 5 years, Ethereum will have a bigger market cap than Bitcoin because of its utility in the entire financial system. So, yeah, and I saw that, Margaret, too. Doge is on here. It's unbelievable that Doge has a $37 billion market cap. It's a joke. It was designed as a joke. One of my favorites on here, this is one that I think is very interesting for people who don't understand crypto. I'll give you a little insight into kind of what we talk about in our crypto sessions, but here's a golden nugget for you. With Ethereum, there's infinite Ethereum. Infinite Ethereum. They create 2 Ethereum every 13 to 15 seconds, and that will happen forever. So you're always going to have some sort of inflationary pressure on the supply of Ethereum. Not a good thing. Now there's a burn mechanism where they actually destroy Ethereum as well, but that's not that significant. You look at something like Ripple, which is number 3 here. They have 100 billion Ripple. There's 100 billion Ripple. And Ripple Labs, the company that makes the Ripple, they own 42% of all of it. But if you look at something like BNB, BNB is one I've been telling my class, like, if you should add some to your portfolio because of math, simple supply and demand economics. BNB is the blockchain for Binance, which is the largest crypto exchange in the world. And on that, they're delivering all sorts of financial products and services on their blockchain. So by itself, doesn't seem extraordinarily different than some of the other blockchains. But here's the kicker. If you look at the number of outstanding coins, BNB started with 200 million total supply. But if you look at the screen here, you see it says 139 million. What's happening is they are burning, meaning they're destroying BNB coins. They're trying to get from 200 million down to 100 million. So essentially they're taking 50% of all of the BNB that existed and cutting it in half, right? Removing 50% of the total supply. So basic economics here, I think everyone can guess the answer to this one, but if demand for BNB stays perfectly flat and no one new wants to buy it, no one wants to sell it, but you reduce supply by 50%, prices are going to surge. And if you can increase demand for BNB, prices are going to go parabolic. And if you look at the chart here, let me bring up BNB's chart. It is price manipulation, but it's almost like a share buyback, Margaret. Because a share buyback, you're taking shares out of circulation. So there is no BNB ETF right now, Stephen. Not yet. Let's go. So let me just sort this so you guys can see the chart of BNB. It's nothing short of spectacular what's been happening. Oh, where's BNB? There we go. Look at that chart. If you go back to these lows here in 2023, this thing was 190 bucks. Now it's 1,000. So you've almost, well, not 10x. You've like 6x'd. Pretty impressive. I mean, that's a pretty nice move. Of course, if you go all the way back here to 2020, this thing was trading at 27 bucks and even lower than that. So a lot of this has to do with they're literally removing supply from the market. And right now it's 139 million, which means they have 39 million more to remove. And that, to me, is going to continue to drive the price of BNB higher and higher and higher, all things being equal. And imagine if we get demand to surge for BNB. Let's say, we get favorable readings from the government with the Clarity Act. And the Clarity Act opens a doorway to Binance to do more activity in the United States using their blockchain. BNB is going to surge. Huge demand for it, and supply is dropping. That creates parabolic moves. So these are the types of things that I'm looking for with regards to crypto to understand where things may be going. Please explain. Okay. Bye, William. You're not welcome here anymore. Put user on timeout. I'll put you on timeout. I'm not going to block you completely, but you're going to be gone for the rest of the show. 30 minutes, you're done. Get your political garbage out of here. I don't want no political garbage. I don't want no religious stuff in here either. Say out of the chat. Binance is yes, exactly, Stephen. So there's a Binance China. That's the big one. But there's also a Binance US. They've had to fragment the company. Binance.us is not very big. It looks nice, but I've been watching liquidity on those exchanges. There's really not a lot going on. Marcus says, explain the right axis for the price on BNB. The right axis? Are you talking just the price? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by the right axis. So you have an x-axis and a y-axis. The x-axis here is price. The y-axis is price. X-axis is time. So I'm not sure what you want there, but let me know what you want. Well, I mean, if you're just looking for the x-axis, this is the price of it. I mean, it's just been surging, right? So you have basically people are now looking at BNB, buying more of it because of its utility and functionality and its association with Binance, the largest exchange in the world. I'm looking at it from you've got demand increasing for this thing, but you also have supply dropping every single day. There's less and less BNB to go around. My chart says 142.12 billion. You might have the wrong chart there. You might have the wrong one there. Sorry. Not sure what that is, but right now BNB trading at a little over $1,000 per coin. 142 billion might be the market capitalization. Yeah, 142 billion is the market cap. So I think you pulled up the market cap for it, and that's what happened. And you could look at that market cap. Obviously, it's been surging. Chart looks pretty much the same as this one. A little bit different than what you have. So it will never be the desired blockchain of the U.S. government. Correct. But remember, the U.S. government's going to push for a blockchain that's domestically built. I guess it's a tough one. I'm not 100% sure here because I would assume the government wants something that is domestically built. One of the keys of blockchain technology that I am such an advocate for is the decentralized nature of it. The more decentralized it is, the safer it is, and the more it removes manipulation potential. So something like Ethereum would be a logical choice. There is no ruling party of Ethereum, but the community can make decisions that the U.S. government does not like. That's dangerous. So if it's a blockchain that the U.S. government is going to be using for official purposes, it's my belief that the government would not use a public open source blockchain like Ethereum or Cardano or Avalanche. They would use something private, and they would probably create a private blockchain for themselves where only they could be the ones who control the data, the information, the blocks, and all that. That's more likely what's going to happen with a central bank digital currency. They'll create a blockchain and they'll issue the CBDC on top of that, not on something like Ethereum. It's too much of a risk for the US government to have Ethereum outside of their control, right? The government cannot control Ethereum. They just don't have enough compute. They have to have over 51% of the hashing power of the network, and they don't. So Michael says, which company or miner would be best to invest into? And I don't understand markets up so much with the biggest layoffs. Well, it's not layoffs. These guys just got furloughed. Layoffs, no. Furlough, yes. Furlough meaning, hey, take a vacation. You're going to get your pay when you come back. So basically, these government employees got a paid vacation. So which miner? I mean, look, to ask which company or miner would be best to invest into, first off, again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice. If we look at the miners themselves, we'll just go to some of the big ones like Hut 8, right? So there's Hut. It'd be nice if I could do let's see if I could do this on stockcharts.com. I got blocked from this site because it said I used an ad blocker, and we'll see if that happens here again. They want me to pay now. So there's a thing called a perf chart. And they don't have perf charts up here anymore. They took perf charts off. Oh, interactive perf chart. Never mind. So we'll go Hut 8. We're going to go Riot. We're going to go Mara. I'll just do those three, right? Just so we can do a simple comparison between those three charts. And if we look at those, there's obviously a clear leader here, right? Riot has been much stronger than all of the others for this entire year. Now, of course, you can take this slider and you can manipulate this data. This is the last 200 days. The one that you don't want to hold is Marathon. Marathon is down in the last 200 days, 17%, whereas you look at Riot, it's up 53%. So I'm a believer, Michael, that even though this one's moved the most, you got to go with the winners. You buy the winning horses. You don't want to buy the one that's going to the glue factory, which looks like Marathon right now. And this is where we differ, Michael, quite a bit. Your brain, I know you for a while on this program, your brain's going to look at something like Marathon and go, man, Marathon is going to catch up to these other guys. Well, I don't. I look at it as you got to go with the leader. Buy the winners. And let's look at them one by one. So here's Marathon. That chart sideways not doing much. So I really wouldn't be that interested in it anyway. If you look at HUT 8, HUT 8's got a great trend. Didn't really pull back into a strong demand zone in my opinion, but it looks great. And then you look at Riot. I mean, HUT 8 and Riot would be the two that I would be looking at out of these three to potentially invest in if I was looking at the mining space. If you're looking at just crypto space, it's kind of hard not to look at Coinbase and say, maybe I should spread some around here and go into Coinbase a little bit. Good for you, Steven. So I split my kitty between the three last year. Good, right? And I think that's incredibly important to do, because if you try to pick the winner and you're on the wrong one, if let's say you went all in on Marathon, you're down big. If you did, 30, 30, 30 and split it up, you're going to catch some of the Mara move, you're going to catch some of the HUT 8 and the Riot, and ultimately have a much better rate of return. So you're diversifying, you're protecting yourself from diversifiable risk within that sector. Absolutely. What about MSTX? Not a fan. I don't like leverage ETFs. Right? I just don't like leverage ETFs. I don't like the doubles. I don't like the triples. These are not meant to be investing vehicles. So I'm a long-term holder. I'm trying to hold MicroStrategy as long as I can and sell calls against my position and generate income stream from it. When you look at something that's double leveraged, what you get is big-time deterioration. Right? Let's just look at the two here. Let's do a comparison between MSTX, just so you can see the difference here. MSTX and then MSTR. I forgot the M. MSTR. Okay? And, wait, that's not a sharp chart. Sorry, I need to... interactive perf chart. There we go. MSTX and MSTR. So, MicroStrategy, on the year, last 200 days, MicroStrategy, is it 200 days? Yeah. MicroStrategy is down, why are you not, 17%, right? 17%. But look at the Defiance double long. It's down 66%. This thing should only be down 30%, right? If it's double and MicroStrategy is down 13, this should be down 26%. It's got decay. You should never hold leverage ETFs, especially ETFs of very volatile securities like MicroStrategy. In my opinion, this will sound really, really bad. I apologize. This sounds really horrible, but it's true. If you are holding long-term, you bought MSTX, a double leverage long MicroStrategy, and you're holding it long-term, you're an idiot. Because the fluctuations are so wild. When it has a huge down day, that calculation is so dramatic, it skews everything. And this separation between these two is going to grow. It's not going to recoup. It's going to continue to grow. This separation will get wider and wider and wider over time because of the decay of leveraged ETFs. So unless you're day trading them, right? Day trading them is great. Stay away from leverage ETFs. I'm sorry, Steven. How many times have I seen people, not necessarily here, but students in classes, that have absolutely wrecked themselves by holding things like FAS or FAZ, these are triple financials, and they just like, I don't know why I'm losing. It's because of decay. The longer you hold those things, the worse it's going to be, but people just don't know. They just don't know how these vehicles work, and they get absolutely smoked on it. Drives me nuts because, even you look at things, even like UNG and Boyle. You've got Boyle, the double long natural gas. That separation is huge. And the longer you hold it, the worse that separation gets. So day trading, great. If you didn't, If you're just a long-term holder, stay away from them. We talked about cannabis stocks the other day. I'm not a stock picker in that industry by any means. If anything, I'd be buying MJ just because it's a diversified portfolio. But looking at Tilray, I think they had their earnings the other day, right? TLRY. Man, looking fantastic over the past couple months, from 40 cents to $1.80 yesterday or day before yesterday. Fantastic. And I guess the question is cannabis turning the corner? We talked about this yesterday or day before, where I think what you're getting is a shakeout in the industry. You're getting consolidation. A lot of participants are closing their doors because there's no profit margin in it. And as that happens, profit margin will start to come back in, right? If you get rid of supply, which there's been abundance of supply in cannabis, now all of a sudden there's less supply, these guys can start to make more profits. It was interesting when my friend was here from Italy. He's a big-time pot smoker and loves eating edibles. And, we went to the cannabis dispensary down the street. And, man, it's just like going to a 7-Eleven, but the entire place is all about weed. If anybody's ever been to one, it's a pretty fun experience. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really following the MJ segment here. But I think that part of it is, at least I believe, that you're going to start to hear more and more about federal legalization. I hope we do. Okay, what else do I have here? I had some questions I wanted to get to. So this goes from Liz, which says, isn't shareholder dilution another major risk of MicroStrategy? In which case, why not just buy Bitcoin outright, or at the very least, IBIT? Yeah, look, I've talked on this program. I've shown you my accounts. Shown you the account that I trade for this program. I do have MicroStrategy in my portfolio. I'm not a big fan of MicroStrategy, to be honest. What I'm a fan of is the volatility that it presents and the incredible premium that the options offer. So I can get great rates of return on a weekly basis. I can get 1 to 5% rate of return per week on MicroStrategy. Now, to do that, I'm taking on a lot more risk, and that's okay as long as I know what that risk is. So, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of MicroStrategy. I think it's a very speculative model, and we haven't seen any of them blow up yet. I think in the course of time, we will see some of these treasuries blow up. I think we will see some of them blow up and implode and have a big problem. And remember, I've been watching this list grow over here on my screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right now I've got 10 on the screen, and there's a bunch more that I have not put on here that I didn't even know about. About Orbs, we talked about how Orbs is getting crushed, and Orbs is going to come straight back down. I've been saying that for a while here. I just didn't have the gumption to try to short Orbs. You also had Brea. Brea is the Solana one, and that was down 17% today. So, I get ready for these really big swings on these bad boys. I think that you'll see some of them implode and some of them will do okay. So I agree with you. I think if you really want to profit from the price appreciation of Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin, put it on a cold storage device, and call it a day. I also am long IBIT, Liz. So I do a wheel strategy in another account, which I have not shared with you guys. This year, that account is only IBIT. I wanted to do a test. The test was I'm selling puts on IBIT till I get executed. And once I get executed and those puts the shares get put to me, I'm selling covered calls against it. Right now I have a position in IBIT and I have covered calls against it, expiring at 66.50, by the way, on Friday. Let's go IBIT. Today's jump up was pretty interesting. So I did not think that I would be able to get rid of my shares here. Let me mark out here 66.50. I could very easily have my shares taken away by Friday, right? By Friday. And we'll see. We'll see if it happens. I'm not too concerned. If it does get taken away, I'm okay with that. That account's been doing very well. I'll share those results with you at the end of the year. It wasn't a huge account. It was more of a test to see how this would work. And I'll say it's been working really, really, really well. All right. So that's Liz's question, which, yes, I think you've got to have some stones to trade MicroStrategy and hold big positions of it. As you guys know, 600 is not the biggest position in the world. It's only a couple $100,000. But that volatility, man, just like today. You look at what MicroStrategy did today. You're up $16 per share, 5% jump to the upside, and it was up more than that. It was pretty wild. And Steve says, yeah, IBIT surprisingly has, I would say decent premiums, right? I'm used to the CoreWeave, the SMCI, MicroStrategy premiums, those are great. But IBIT, yeah, there's definitely some premium. The more so than you get on something like XLU or some of these diversified ETFs. But of course, why is that? Because IBIT is a spot Bitcoin ETF, which has a ton of volatility to it. So, all right, next question I had was, this is an interesting one for Oscar. I don't know if you're here, Oscar, but here's the question. One of you guys a few weeks ago said he's not worried about AI taking share away from Google. What's your take on that? I rarely use Google these days, just grokking everything. That will take away clicks and advertisement views and eventually lower their profit. Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, I think that was Don Fron. I don't agree with that statement, by the way, Oscar. I do believe that AI is going to take market share away from Google. I mentioned this before. I can go to Google and do a search for something I'm interested in, but I have to filter through hundreds of pages that don't curate for me. I am a ChatGPT guy, I'm a Grok guy, and I think I'll probably start moving more towards Grok. And the reason is it's my personal assistant. And I think that ultimately, I think what we're going to get down the road is when you go to your Google browser and you open up a brand new Google browser, this will be a complete AI interface. It'll be, and you can see it right there. Yeah, and Steven says, doesn't Google own a bunch of AI? They absolutely do. They know that they have to. Yep, and they own Gemini. And Gemini, from what I've seen, I have a friend who has an Android, he uses Google. Gemini is amazing. It's amazing, but here's the difference. Line up the browsers, okay? Line up the browsers, and you've got Google. You've got Internet Explorer, which is a steaming pile of dog. Does anybody here use Internet Explorer? Like, I think the last time I used Internet Explorer was in the 1990s, early on. And this thing is such garbage. It's a resource hog, destroys my computer. I hate it. I cannot stand Internet Explorer. But then you've got DuckDuckGo. Bing is obviously much better. Yeah, Bing is their better version, but it's a hog. You had a couple big players. You had Google, you had Bing, you had Yahoo, right? You go through Yahoo. I think what you're seeing now is so much more competition at that highest level for AI. I would argue that things like ChatGPT or Grok are just as good, if not better, at getting you all the information you need from the web than Google is. So I think you had all this new competition, and I think it's going to fragment the industry significantly. I do think that Google will do well because of their AI, but some of that leakage is going to go to ChatGPT. I think a surprising amount, more so than more people would agree with or believe, is I think a lot of it's going to go to Grok. I think a lot of it's going to go to X, and I think that has to do with Elon Musk. I think it has to do with the marketing and branding and packaging of X as a service industry. Which one is free? Grok is free. If you want the faster services, you have to pay for it. But I think I pay $8 a month to get the blue check mark verified, so I'm not a scammer, and I get Grok with it, and it's awesome. I mean, it is really amazing. I think I told you guys, if you want, I could walk you through an example of what I did with Grok, but let me know. I can't remember what I've told you guys about Grok and ChatGPT and what it can do. I've shown you in the past a couple things, but I had a really interesting experience with it recently, personally, based off my own personal needs. So if you want, let me know. I will explain and show you what it did. ChatGPT, I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. But if you look at the amount of time, effort, and energy I save by using ChatGPT to help me with what I'm looking for, it's the best $20 you're going to spend. I mean, what's that? 2 beers? It's hard to say ChatGPT is better. I like the structure and the way ChatGPT is set up. Margaret says, do you make presentation slides with AI? I do not. It's not good enough yet. I've tried. The presentation that I gave for, which one did I want to do? The red flags one I did for Money Show, I gave it a really good parameter of what I wanted to cover and put my outline in there and said, create the PowerPoint slides. Did not do a good job. It doesn't do any graphical stuff yet. But again, another year, I'll drop my schedule, my syllabus, my whatever it is into these AI programs, and it will fully do my presentation for me. So we're getting there. So Oscar, I do believe that you'll see AI impact Google. I think you're going to see it fragment the industry because everyone's doing AI, but you have new contestants, right? You never had to look at X or Twitter as stealing marketing from Google. You never had to really look at ChatGPT as stealing marketing from Google. Now you do. So I think you have two new competitors. That's going to dilute that industry a little bit more, take it away from Google. So I do think long-term, Google will feel the impacts of it. Turn off the teleprompter. Andres, I'm very proud to say I will not use a teleprompter. I hate teleprompters. At Trading Academy, a lot of the instructors, when they record a video for me, they need a teleprompter because their ability to flow and cohesive thought live on camera, it's just not there. I'm very fortunate, very fortunate that I can flow seamlessly from topic to topic. And again, I think that's why I do this show, guys. It keeps my brain sharp. Even though I mess up occasionally, I say some ums and ands here, and I get sidetracked, I enjoy that ability to test my brain. Mark says, I did a wellness check 2 days ago. The doctor said use an AI app on his phone to record the appointment and summarize it so we can, yep. Mine did as well. He asked me, he said, do you mind if I record it? Did I tell you guys about my DEXA scan and the health plan that I used with AI? You guys tell me if I did or not, because I think that'll be really interesting for you guys. But how accurate is it? When I use Gemini for sports, it doesn't recognize players leave and playing. Depends on which version you are. So most of these platforms you pay to get the most recent data. Sometimes it's old. Oh, I didn't? Oh, how much time I got left? All right. So this blew my mind. So I went to get a DEXA scan. Some of you that don't know what a DEXA scan is, it's a scan of your body that measures muscle mass, body fat, bone density. It's one of the most thorough things you can get outside of like a professional hospital. So a friend of mine said, hey, you should try this. Not only was I shocked by, I was mind blown by the results. So first off, it gives you this report. Number one, it said that I had very, very low lean muscle mass. And I'm looking at myself, I'm like, I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape. Apparently, according to the scan, I have a lot of fat in my body. It also showed, believe it or not, I am technically, hold on to your chairs, ladies, I am technically obese. I am me, technically. I'm obese. I don't get it. But the scan said I had 26% body fat, which completely blows my mind. I cannot believe I'm 26% body fat. But it's scanning everything and looking for all these patterns. It also, this was the shocker, it showed that I have an incredibly low bone density. Incredibly low. And my dad had osteoporosis. So I was like, oh, shoot, I need to fix that. So, yeah, apparently not, Steven. I'm going to go and get it done again. But I took the DEXA scans and I put them into ChatGPT. And of course, it analyzed everything. I knew all the results, but it was telling me, hey, you need to work on your bone density. You need to look lean muscle mass. And then I went in and said, for a man my age, at my weight, what can I do to fix those deficiencies in the DEXA scan? And within 10 seconds, full printout. And then I said, I'm also doing F45 fitness program, and I do that 6 to 7 days a week. And it was so funny. It commented like a person would have crossed me. It's like, oh wow, you're doing F45. That's great. And it outlined all of it knows F45. It knows their workouts. And it's like, oh, that's a mix of cardio and resistance, and kept on modifying my analysis based off of that. It said, this is great. This will help your bone density. It suggested right away, hey, you need to increase your calcium. So have a glass of milk every day, take calcium supplements, lift heavier weights to work on bone density, etc. And then I said, create a diet plan. My goal is to get my visceral fat, which is my belly fat that I want to get rid of, down to a certain level. And it printed out a complete diet routine, to which I modified it and said, I don't like that ingredient. I'm also already eating these things every day, and I want to keep doing that. And it modified this thing. It was literally a personal assistant, a doctor, a nutritionalist, all wrapped up in one. And within about, I would say about a half hour, I had a custom diet plan completely tailored to my exact specific needs to help fix the deficiencies of that DEXA scan. I can't do that with Google. I could not go in here and start typing all those different things. It would take me forever to get the results from Google that I got from my personal assistant. And to me, I got my heart scanned too. Trust me, when I did the breakup thing, I went to the hospital and I said, do as much analysis as you can possibly do. I want to know where my body stands. They took 21 vials of blood, for anybody here who knows what a phlebotomist does. Even she said, you should do this over 2 days. So I got blood drawn on 2 separate days. Osa says, Gemini got you. For me, it was ChatGPT. Grok would have asked like 30 questions instead of giving you. Yeah, I know Grok is a little bit more wordy too. So anyway, that's why I think, for me personally, I find I'm doing so many less searches on Google. I'm not using any of that stuff anymore. It's really ChatGPT and Grok is where I go to build routines. Not only that, folks, it asked me, says, do you want me to create a shopping list for your meal prep? Because I said, create a meal prep for me to help me achieve those goals. Bam, spit it all out in seconds. It says, do you want to create a shopping list? I said, yep, absolutely. Yeah, just the amount of detail that AI can do. If you're not using it, you really should use AI. For me, it's worth 20 bucks a month. Leg strength is much more important as you get older, not biceps. Well, I'm not going to show you my legs on camera, Margaret. Come on, we got to keep this a family show here. This isn't Chippendales, all right, Margaret? I see what you're trying to do. It's trying to get me to show you my legs. Not going to happen. Insurance did cover all these tests. That was one of my conditions. I told my doctor, I said, whatever tests are covered by my insurance, do every single thing that you can do. Even if you don't think it's necessary, I would just want to know the numbers. He's like, okay. Strengthen the whole body. Yep. Absolutely, Rob. And again, I'm a big fan of F45. If you guys have a chance, do F45. Liz says calcium score or Cordio Doppler. Have you had any of this? I have not. I'm not at a calcium score, but I will say that over the last 30 days, I track. So at the gym I go to, they have a scanner, body fat. It's called, what's it called? InStep or InScan. My body fat has dropped by 6%, which is pretty darn good. And my lean muscle mass has gone up by about 8%. So I'm really making some significant progress. But again, it goes down to making sure you work out and you have a routine, right? Diet and exercise. So I have my workout routine. And then also cutting out all the stuff that I used to binge on. I used to sit there and eat a bag of Doritos because I just love Doritos or chips or something that was not good for me, and drink sodas every now and again. Now, I'll have a couple sodas on the weekend with my Crown and Cokes, or now I'm switching to tequila because I get less headaches. But yeah, you just find out what you want to achieve, put it down on paper, and achieve those goals. Just like we would do on the show talking about trying to become a successful trader, like the article I wrote. It's about putting your goals down on paper and saying, how am I going to achieve these goals? I've got 2 other things, which I won't share with you guys until it's done. That I want to achieve, and hopefully I will get those goals achieved by the end of the year. But you can all accomplish anything that you want to accomplish as long as you put your mind to it and you work hard. And I think I think at this point I'm pretty good proof of that. I certainly would like to get to the point where my physique is in the best shape of my life, and I think about 30 days away. I think that by my birthday, which is October 26th, I'll probably be in the best shape of my life. And maybe, Margaret, I'm not one of those guys like to pose and post pictures of myself all flexed out, but I might because we're getting there. Can I run a mile? Yeah, I can run a mile. Cardio Doppler checks your arteries and the neck and any blockages. Oh, yeah, I should get that done. I should check that out. No, I did not get to GD's question, and I have 11 minutes left. Speaking of, look at that. There he is. I'm sweating up here, guys. It's hot up in the studio today. GD, who just got here. Can you please explain the latest news of a Russian minister exposing Trump's plan? It has to do with using crypto to erase the national debt. I don't see how that works, so please explain it on your broadcast. First off, I think that was just a bunch of bollocks. Hogwash. Okay. So what essentially happened, and what I think it was the finance minister, he's one of Putin's right-hand man. He's making accusations that the U.S. government, with $35 trillion worth of debt, is using cryptocurrency as a vehicle to offload their debt into cryptocurrency, and then they'll devalue the currency and erase the national debt. Let me ask you a question. Why would you need to use cryptocurrency to do that? The U.S. government can right now devalue the dollar if they choose to. Now, that would create a lot of... that would create a lot of chaos in the financial marketplace. I think people would start to panic if the government just outright did that. So I don't think the government's going to devalue it like the Russian prime minister or whatever this guy said. But they could do it at any moment. They don't need cryptocurrency as the vehicle. And his argument was kind of stupid. He said, what's going to happen is the government's going to put all their money into stable coins. You're not going to get $35 trillion into stable coins. Right now, the largest stable coin out there is $150 billion. And you're telling me you're going to put $35 trillion into stable coins? That's crazy and outlandish. And again, I'm glad you asked the question because I do believe that the vast majority of people don't understand it. And they're going to look at this and go, wow, America, these scumbags are going to try to erase all this debt. No. If anything, what I think is going to happen, if I'm the U.S. government and I want to erase my debt, what do? If I was a elected official, I would be pushing for this. I would say, okay, what we need to do is we need to put as much money, print as much money as we can, and buy, let's just say Bitcoin. All right, hear me out, folks. Hear me out. We take $1 trillion and we just buy Bitcoin, and we keep buying Bitcoin, and we put that on our books, just like MicroStrategy. But the difference is the government can print it out of thin air to infinity and beyond. Now, it's not just that the government buys all of this crypto with printed money. What's more important is that I, as the U.S. government, would say, we need to make extremely favorable rules for Bitcoin to foster adoption. So, hear me out. If I'm the U.S. government, I start buying Bitcoin, and I buy a lot of it, just like MicroStrategy, with printed money. I print it every day. I'm buying consistently. I'll buy $1 billion a day for the next 6 years, whatever. In parallel, we sit with lawmakers and say, listen, I know this sounds absurd, but let's make Bitcoin legal tender in America. Now, why would I do that? Because that means you've got 360 million Americans who all of a sudden go, hey, Bitcoin is legal tender. I'm going to get some Bitcoin. So now all of a sudden it becomes an extremely desired currency in the United States. If the United States were to do something like that, the rest of the world's going to go, well, maybe we should look at it as a currency as well. And then you get that global adoption. And because the US government has printed so much money and bought so much Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin could go to $1 trillion of Bitcoin. And now the government can pay off all of its debt. You can be debt-free within a decade. This country would have no debt within a decade if they followed that model. Will it happen? Probably not. Probably not, GD. But the argument that the United States is trying to hide its debt in stablecoins and then devalue the dollar while it's in stablecoins would have no discernible difference than if they just downgraded the US dollar or devalued the US dollar outright. Using the crypto market is not relevant for that discussion. It tells me the guy doesn't understand what he's talking about. So there we go. It's a form of pegging the dollar to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is projected to get to trillions. Yes, it is. Eric Trump said that Bitcoin will crush Wall Street's old financial system. Margaret, I think you're right. It's not going to crush it. It's going to make it very evident that the traditional financial systems that we operate with today are outdated and antiquated. That doesn't mean they're going to dissolve and disappear. They'll morph and modify to accommodate this new technology, which we're already witnessing. I mean, JP Morgan is already using blockchain, and they've been the biggest skeptics of it. So this is why I built the crypto program, because it's about understanding where that technology is leading, how it seeps into governments, how it seeps into big corporations, and how it ultimately changes the financial landscape. And ultimately, I want to be profiting on that landscape redesign. And I told you, I messed up in the late 90s. I didn't buy Amazon. I didn't buy eBay and hold it for 20 years like I should have. But I'm going to hold Bitcoin for 20 years. I'm going to hold Ethereum for 20 years. And I will be, if my plan is right, I will be a very, 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 very wealthy man in 20 years. Of course, I might be dead in 20 years, but you never know. How much Bitcoin has the President Trump company, DJT? What does it own? So from what I've read, I believe they have $4 billion worth. $4 billion worth. And that's like 1/10 of what MicroStrategy has. But remember, DJT owns some, so does World Liberty Financial. So Trump is putting some of that in his company's pockets already, which is why I've been so bullish on crypto. I do think that you're going to start to see more favorable government rulings and laws towards Bitcoin. Hey, Merlin, what are your thoughts on using order flow like footprint charts instead of just relying on regular candlestick charts? If it works for you, it works, Eric. I don't know what to say. I don't use footprint charts. I'm a practitioner that has studied candlestick charts for 29 years now. 29. I mean, I started trading in 1996. It was really like my first foray into it, but day trading in 1998. If it works for you, it works. For me, regular candlestick charts are the way to go. I understand them intimately. I've looked at hundreds of millions of charts over my years, and they work for me, but I wouldn't be able to tell you which one's better or not. Again, it's ultimately the information that you glean from it and how you plan your trades. Let's see. Should GHT be traded much higher, having so much, or what is this fair value? No clue. I don't know if I trust DJT. Yeah, not sure on that one. All right, let me wrap this up because you guys got great questions coming in. I dare ask, could bearish around me on the daily chart? Let's look at that one. I got to wrap up here because, oops, that was the impact on the stock market. Let's go to my MicroStrategy, and let's go, what do you want, Hood. It is a great bearish around me, right? But I'm not shorting it. It's just too dangerous, man. This thing's got so much hype and support, and the trend is so strong. I mean, institutions got to be gobbling this thing up. Wild move up for Hood. All right, earnings for tomorrow. Let me get that one going, and we'll go to the economic calendar, and I can wrap up. Again, no show tomorrow. You've got no real big earnings tomorrow as well. There's 2 companies reporting, and as you can see here, nobody big on that list. Now, if we go to Forex Factory, which I thought I had up and running, but I did not. Shaven, put on one of your nice suits. I've gotten so many. It's funny how, and I'm not listening to the men on this one, right? I'm listening to the ladies. I've gotten such mixed opinions. I half say keep the beard; it looks manly. Others say go shave clean. I guess it's just each individual person is going to have their own different way to look at it. See, Lisa likes the beard look. Economic calendar for mañana. Let's bring that up and then I'll wrap up here. I didn't plan on an hour show, but here we are for the second day of October, Thursday. You've got the unemployment claims. You also have factory orders. A couple of FOMC members will be speaking, and that's pretty much it. Not a lot of really important stuff going on tomorrow, but again, Friday is your big day when you have the unemployment rate coming out and non-farm employment change. Right now, unemployment rate 4.3% is what it looks like. All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. I'm sweating up here. I'm going to go to the dog park, get a whole bunch of stuff done, and hopefully get myself all prepped for my flight tomorrow. Again, I will be gone Thursday and Friday. I'll be back on Monday. All next week, we're doing shows, and then the week after that, I'm leaving again for Florida to go teach at the Money Show. Thank you, Janet. Appreciate that. Well, the hair looks a little bit disheveled today. This new stylist thing, I don't know. She's like, you should spike your hair up. It's like the trendy thing. I'm like, I'm not a trendy person. I don't do trendy. The shutdown show tomorrow. That's right. Guys, because of government cutbacks and spending, the government has decided that TraderMerlin show will not air on Thursday and Friday of this week. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Hope you had a fantastic day. I hope you make some great trades the remainder of the week. JD, Oscar, and Liz, thank you for the questions. If you guys have questions, send them on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or down below any YouTube videos, and I will get to them on Monday's show. Take care, everybody.